Hello everyone, this is the North-East Society of St. Stephen's College, and today we have Reverend Shan Kikon, and he was from History Major Batch 1993. And today we have come here to interview him and know more about his life during college life and after the college life. So good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having us in your space today. We're thrilled to have this opportunity to connect with you.
Thank you.
And to kick things off, I'd love to hear your thoughts on returning to the memories of your time at St. Stephen's College. Even if we are not on the campus itself, how does it feel to reflect on those memories and years and the journey that have brought to you where you are today?
Okay, that's a big question. I was in college 91 to 93. Probably most of my memorable memories of my teenage life, 18, 19, 20, 21 were from college. Yesterday as we were driving from the airport to Outram Lines, through Civil Lines, past the college, I was just remembering, what we used to do back then, how we used to travel by rickshaw, how we used to walk along those same lanes, and the kind of places that we would go and eat and fellowship with our friends. So, just being around here, even in the all-campus territory, it just brings back memories of friends, the kind of fellowship that we used to do, sitting on the lawns, having the nimbu pani, the mince and the eggs in the cafe. So it just brought a host of memories back. So it feels really nostalgic just to be around, even in the North Campus area.
And I would like to ask you more about your thoughts and how you felt when you first entered the college. There must have been a sense of nervousness that you must have felt when you entered.
You mean when I first entered in 1991?
Yeah, when you first entered the gates.
Well, it was very intimidating because, we are straight out of school and we're entering into the big world of college and an environment where, we are going to be challenged in our academics, our interactions with seniors, and also learning about our purpose, our call, and what we want to do in life. So I was very intimidated, but at the same time I was very hopeful. I was filled with a lot of enthusiasm. And being from the Northeast, I really wanted to break a lot of stereotypes that the Northeast only fellowship with themselves. They do not make efforts to blend in with the mainstream and make friends with all other communities. So I made a very intentional decision to be as friendly as I could with people of all different communities, make extra efforts to go out and introduce myself and make friendships with strangers all around the campus. I remember the first 2 months, I would just go and introduce myself, say where I'm from, and just get to know people, get to know the names. And when I would meet them around the campus in the first few months, I would always go and shake hands with them again, call them by name. And that really went a large extent into being accepted by all, but at the same time making myself feel very comfortable in the whole atmosphere. Not only my batchmates, but also my seniors and so on. And I also made extra efforts to be as part of many societies as I could. So I joined the hiking club. I joined the Shakespeare Sock at that time. I remember I joined one more group. I forget the name of that group. So I just wanted to fraternize, get to know people, and be seen, so that I could break some stereotypes of what people perceive Northeasterners to be. So it was a little nervous, but at the same time very very exciting, because you're making new friends, you're meeting new people, and you're learning new things.
That was a beautiful answer. But is there any advice that you would like to give to students who feel the same sort of nervousness? Because I myself, as a first year, when I first entered the college gates, I did feel that nervousness, that feeling of overwhelmingness. So what would you suggest students who go through that phase? Any advice you would like to give them?
I think I don't know how college may have changed right now. The atmosphere, the kind of people, generations are different. In those days, people were very warm, very accepting, very very easy to make friends with. But what I would probably advise is to take it easy, not to really rush in the first 1 or 2 weeks, trying to be everywhere, trying to be friendly with everyone. But take it slowly, but at the same time make extra efforts on your own. There's a scripture that says that he who wants friends must himself also be friendly. So I think there's a need for people to come out of their own shells, not to stay very aloof, not to stay isolated, but to make efforts to make friends with people of different communities, and even just to introduce themselves to the lecturers. That's one thing I never did. We stayed away from the lecturers, and so when there were things that we were needing in terms of guidance, in terms of help for preparation, we never got that. Because in those days, we didn't have the semester system. We just had to photocopy all the notes and just memorize them. And I don't remember having a relationship with any single lecturer, which I, on hindsight, would suggest to all the newcomers, build relationship with your lecturers. I didn't do that. Because at that time, we didn't really have a need to. We just made photocopy notes, especially in the last few months. And so the photocopier owner was a bigger friend of ours than the lecturers, because he was the one who accessed all the notes for us. And then we would just memorize them. And I did well through that also. But now I think the system has changed. So I think getting to know the lecturers and building a relationship with them would be really important for college students at the moment.
And you mentioned that you were part of many societies like the
Yes.
Hiking Club, Shakespeare Society. So were you part of the council in any one of them?
When I joined the Shakespeare Society, I think in the second year I became a joint secretary or something. I don't remember that. I was very active because I was just wanting to, get to know as many people as I could, at the same time get involved in the college life. And then I was also very active in the hiking club. So these two clubs I was active. So in the second year I became the joint secretary in the Shakespeare. In the hiking club, I don't remember what exact title, but by the second year I just got more involved in the hiking club. I just had to choose. I couldn't be both. So by the second year I dropped the hiking Shakespeare Society, and I got completely involved in the hiking club. So by the third year I became the president of the hiking club, and I just let go of all the other responsibilities in the other clubs. So I just did it mainly. I didn't really have a love for drama per se. I just did it for the sake of doing it, just to be able to push some boundaries, get to know people, challenge myself, So I just did all the dirty work around the society. I was never on the stage. I was never in the main planning strategy-wise, but I was just doing all the dirty work. Yeah. Even in the hiking club, that's what I did, all the dirty work.
And so, how did your experience as the head of the hiking club contribute to the development of your leadership skills? And do you see any similarities in the leadership dynamics between overseeing a hiking club and your current role as a senior pastor?
Yeah, definitely. I think leadership principles can be transplanted in any arena, any space, whether it's academics, whether it's politics, business. The same principles you learn, you can always transplant it. So my years in the hiking club really forced me to come out of my shell, and it pushed me to learn to interact with people of different races. It taught me to work with the skills of different people, and to be an initiator, because I had to initiate treks, programs. I have to make decisions. I remember the time when we were about to go to Dodge, which is the rock climbing area.
Oh.
Okay, and that's where the first 2 or 3 months of the college, all the members of the hiking club would go for an overnight trip to do rock climbing. And I was the president then. A lot of young people had joined for that trip. There were around 40 to 50 of us about to go. And then that week that we were about to travel, there was a lot of heavy clouds and storm that was coming to Delhi. So now the weight was on me. What do I decide? And all the students were very excited. They said, let's go, let's just go, let's just go. So even the lecturers just gave us the freedom to decide as leaders. And I remember just, feeling the pressure, being nervous, because every decision I make can be, can have consequences for people. Some people can get sick, parents will start complaining. So I just took a call that we're going to postpone the rock climbing trip for next week. So that week it rained very heavily, but then the rains passed, and then the next week was wonderful. And I remember one of the parents of one of the students saying, "Shan, you made the right decision." So that really gave me a lot of confidence that as a young boy of 21 at that age, in my third year of college, 2021, I felt the pressure, but I made a call based on my own deductions, and it was the right call. So that gave me confidence going forward that in my entire year of being the president, I could make decisions, who would lead what tracks, where we should go, how we would raise funds. And then later on, those skills and those drive to initiate really helped me in ministry also, because we're always initiating programs, we're meeting people, we are assigning leadership roles. So I think those formative years in the high school club really brought me out of my shell and taught me a lot of leadership skills, which I'm still banking upon nowadays. So college is an amazing time to really discover yourself and to push your boundaries.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is David, and we'll be continuing with Pastor Shan here. I'll be asking a few more questions. So, Pastor, I wanted to ask you, were there any particular professors or courses that had a significant impact on you while your time at Stephens?
Well, the only course I was studying was history honors, so I won't say that it had an impact on my life because I was just studying. I think in terms of personality development, my time at the hiking club and my interactions with the advisor of the hiking club, who was Dr. Tanka, that was quite inspiring for me. In history, I don't remember really having close, deep interaction with any of the professors. So I wouldn't say they had an impact on my life in that kind of a sense. I did well, I studied well, and unfortunately at that time my mindscape, my attitude was not to really build a strong relationship with the lecturers, the professors, because we were just so focused on just having fun, just being with our friends. And so I wouldn't say that they had a really profound impact on my life. I studied as everyone does, just memorize the notes and do well in the academics, that's it, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, were there any campus legends or myths that everyone talked about? Like, did you believe in any of them, like in the college? Like any myths that associated with a certain place or a certain kind of ritual that happens in Stephens?
Now that would be digging back really deep into my memories. There were a lot of, how would I say, myth stories related to Yudra North, Yudra South. I don't remember the exact details. Some would say of some spooky, mystical, happenings. We didn't really pay much attention to them. We had gossip magazine at that time. I think it was called the Cooler Talk, because around the place where the cooler is, near the library, is where people gathered and they gossip, right? So we had that kind of an informal publication that would be used for gossip and stuff like that. But nothing extraordinary, nothing that I would put in the category of legend. But probably some of my friends may have a better, better thing to say on this, because I'm the kind of guy, I don't really pay a lot of attention to stories that are just on the peripheries, I just focused on my studies, my friends, and didn't pay much attention to all the gossip or the talk that was going around campus. So I can't really say much on that.
I understand. And I wanted to ask you, can you share a challenging moment you faced in college and how you overcame it, like during your time in college? Were there any moment where you felt like you were unsure, you were uncertain about what you were doing, and how did you get past it?
I think in my second year is when I was unsure of where I want to go beyond, do I pursue academics further into the masters and join the bandwagon of the UPSC exams like most Northeasterners do, or do I pursue a different course? So the second year and going over into the third year was a time of uncertainty for me. I wasn't sure. It was always at the back of my mind. It was not like it was a deep crisis moment, because we were so busy with our college routine and our normal activities that it really did not grip my heart as a crisis. But it was always at the back of my mind, and I was always unsure what I was going to do. So in my third year, not by a proper thought process, but because all my friends were also doing the CAT exams, they were doing the management exams, just on a whim, I also attempted one of those exams. And so I got through that. But looking back at hindsight, I would not do that again. I mean, I would, if I was counseling myself in college, I would probably counsel him to, weigh all the options, talk with different people in different fields, build a good relationship with the lecturers, so that you can get an idea of where your strengths are and what you should pursue. Okay, so I wouldn't say that it was like a deep crisis moment. It was probably a case of indecision and confusion that led to probably a bad decision, I would say.
Oh, I see. Then I wanted to ask you, right now you're a senior pastor, and how did you get along this path? So you're saying that on your third year, you were unsure, and then all these things happened, and now you're finding yourself at this moment. When did you start considering yourself that this is the path that you wanted to follow? Were there any point where I'm sure you were unsure about many things, but were there a point of certainty that you reached within yourself that you felt this is what I wanted to do with my life?
Well, after college, I went to Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. So I was there for 2 years, and I did my master's in international business. And after that, I got a job in a small firm in Singapore, an Indian company based in Singapore. And I would probably say that moment was more of a crisis moment than my 3 years in St. Stephen's College. My 3 years in Stephen's College was just very smooth. Everything went really well. I did really well in academics, in co-curriculars, and so on. But when I was in management and I began to feel the pressure of career and choices and decisions, that's when I began to feel more of this deep introspection within my heart about my purpose, calling in life. And I went through I wouldn't say deep depression, but a mild stage of discouragement and confusion in my life. Nothing too severe, but after I got a job, I went to Singapore and I was there for 6 months. And in that time period, when I had a lot of time on my hand, that's when I began to introspect, ask questions, read a lot, look for answers. And that moment culminated in me having to make a decision about who I am and what I'm called for, and for the rest of my life, and who I follow, who I obey. Right? So that brought me to a place where I realized that Jesus is the Son of God, that Jesus is who he says he is. He's not just a God for Christians, but he's the God of the universe. And so because I was born and brought up in Nagaland, a Christian state, in a Christian home, So Christianity was just tradition for me. It was just a form. It was just rituals. So there was nothing real to it. It was not a personal commitment to God. It was not a revelation of who God is. So it was in Singapore that I really sought. God began to speak to me. God revealed to me. It was epiphany, like a moment where you come to a realization that this is really the truth of God's word. And if that's the truth, then I think the only logical conclusion for my part is to bow down and worship Him and say that if you are Lord and God, then I want to live my life according to your will and purpose, not my own will, my own desires, you see. So that decision was a turning point. And from there, I began to have new desires. I began to have new dreams. And it was no longer to be in the corporate world, but it was to impact the lives of people with the same truths I discovered. That they also know Jesus, they find their identity in Christ, they experience salvation, and they're also, reconciled back to God as the Creator, as the God, as the Father. So that desire began to develop and grow in my heart to the point where I realized that preaching, Christian ministry is really my call and my destiny. And I don't want to do anything else except do this. And so that was in 1997. So I left college in 1994, went to 2 years of IFT, finished in 1996, went to Singapore, worked there for 6-7 months, came to this conclusion, this turnaround. And by 1997, in the month of August, I had decided that I'm going to be in preaching ministry for the rest of my life.
It's a very beautiful commitment, and I believe that there will be many people till now who, after a long career, looking at themselves, they are unsure with what they want, and it's very beautiful that you found yourself so early.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to ask you, as coming from the North-East, do you think that what do you want to speak to the people from the North-East, especially about studying Delhi? I see that many people from the North-East, they find themselves that they don't feel belonging to the mainstream Indian identity, and they also, because of that, they stray from it. There is this fear in their minds. And also, what do you want to speak to the North-East students who might be watching this? Do you have a message to them about going forward, getting out of that sphere in the North-East and going to the mainland, because they have many fears in their hearts and all these things? So do you have any message for them?
Well, I can understand what they are feeling and what they're going through, because we faced those same issues when we were in college. We had the same stereotypical attitude towards the Northeasterners, that they are very reclusive. They do not blend in with the mainland, and they don't want to be a part of everyone. They just want to be by themselves. And of course, there were reasons of language, there were reasons of culture, even just race, the way we look, that made us feel different, that made them also treat us different. Okay, so I really feel that Northeasterners are in no way inferior to anyone else, not only to mainland Indians, but also to the world, because living aside our culture, living aside the language, living aside the race and the different ways we look, which are just identities in the natural. They are not identities that are defining for the rest of our lives. They are not identities that really determine our destinies. It is just a physical identity. It's a cultural identity. It's a racial identity. And that in no way limits a person from pursuing his goals, his dreams, his desires. And it doesn't limit the expression of his talents, his gifts, and his abilities. Now, what the world is looking for is really people who are creative, who are filled with faith, initiative, drive, talented, and the ability and the willingness to express their talents, their abilities on the world stage, and to bring their ideas to manifestation, right? So it's not really just limited to race, not limited to language, you see. But these are barriers that we have to overcome. And these are barriers primarily in the mind and in the soul. Inferiority complex, low self-esteem, identity issues. Now, if we really look at it from the overall perspective, even a normal Indian who is a majority here, when he goes to any other country, or when they come to the Northeast and they are a minority among the majority, they feel the same. So these are not just issues that are unique to the Northeasterners. And so we should not look at it from a very myopic viewpoint that is unique to us and we cannot overcome because we are a minority, we are Northeasterners. The mainland Indians, they ignore us, they don't give us the importance, they don't include us. So we develop all these, wrong attitudes. I think we will always face it wherever we go. If we leave the Northeast and we go to the Middle East, we go to America, we will still face the same discrimination. And the whites coming here will face the same discrimination. So I think we're going to be facing this everywhere we are in the world. And therefore, I think we should not have that this is a specific Indian, Northeast, mainland kind of an attitude. This is something we face everywhere. So we just have to, be determined to overcome this and develop our identity on the true self, which is not our culture, which is not our race, which is not our language, which is not region even. But our true identity is that we are created in the image of God, and we have, once we come to a relationship with Jesus Christ, we have God's Spirit in us. We're sons and daughters of God, and we have as much ability, talent, wisdom as anyone else. And therefore, we can not only survive but thrive in any environment anywhere in the world. So I believe that faith component is very important, that belief component. And I also believe that many of our leaders should stop beating the same drum of Northeast exclusivity, Northeast being ignored. That's an issue that races everywhere in the world face. So, go to America, the North American Indians, they feel the same. You go to Indonesia, there's so many other tribes who feel the same. They feel that they are ignored and rejected by the majority. So it's a human issue. It's not a Northeastern issue. I think we have to overcome that by the strength of our mind, living and standing on the truth and not identifying ourselves with our language, our culture, or our race. And that's why when I was in first year of college, I made intentional attempts to break stereotypes and barriers and make friends with all different communities. So my best friends in college were South Indian, Bengali, North Indians. To the point that after a while I really had Northeastern friends. One reason being that we had very few Northeasterners while we were in college. And the other reason being that since I was just out there making friends with all of them, they just included me, they embraced me. And maybe some of the Northeastern also felt like I was being too oversmart or extreme, and they, kind of, well, whatever, So, so in the end, people are people. If we remove the race and the language, we're all the same. Even the other Northeast, mainland Indians, they're all also dealing with the same low self-esteem, inferiority issues, and so on and so on. So I think when we see that and we gain strength from that knowledge, I think we are able to break every barriers and find a place for ourselves.
So we are back with the third session of the interview, and one question is, were you in residence back when you were in college?
Yeah, I was in residence all 3 years.
All 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, that's really nice. And which block were you in?
I think I was in Rudra South. I forget the name. The one that's closest to the administrative block.
Oh yeah, that's Rudra South.
Yeah, so I was there on the first floor. My roommate was Mhankabemo. He had very long hair. He would play the guitar. He was very popular in college. So that was my roommate in the first year. But in my second year, I moved to Mukherjee East.
Okay.
That's just next to a tennis court.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I just had my own room, and I was there till my third year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did you have a particular special bond with any of the seniors in the residence? Because I know when you are in the residence, you just happen to bond more.
Right. Yeah, I think my best friends from college are from Stevens, from the residence itself. I mean, and they are still very close to us today. I mean, to me, we keep in touch. Probably in the month of December, we're going to be having a short get-together in Calcutta.
That's
So just
nice.
3 years, but at the same, but really, really deep moments of emotional, mental connection. So I think those years in the res where we would just spend hours in each other's rooms, just laughing, talking, watching cricket together at I forget the name of
The JCR?
the JCR, and just having pranks, pulling each other's leg all through the night. That really caused us to bond at a very deep level. That sometimes it's difficult to even find that after you finish college.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Mhm.
So, were there quite a lot of Northeastern students back then?
There were a few. I don't think the numbers would be as they are today. We had a few. In my class, we were 4 Northeasterners, 2 from Manipur and 2 from Nagaland, and 1 from Assam. I forget. Yeah, and that was in history honors in my batch. But of course, in the other classes also we had Northeasterners, but it was not in big numbers. So we just had to learn to be close together as a Northeast community, but at the same time have friends with everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, was the unity and bond strong between the Northeast students back then?
Yes, it was. I mean, because we would party a lot together.
Oh.
We would go out for movies together. Even when we had our students' election for the president, the Northeast students voted together.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a meeting and we said, okay, let's vote for this one guy. That guy was a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he lost. He didn't become the president. But that's what we did. So since we were smaller, I think we felt a need to bond more. And so we knew everyone and we spent a lot of time together. Yeah.
Were your other friends who are not Northeast aware of the Northeastern culture?
To some degree, yes. I mean, in my immediate circle of friends, I never really had a problem with being ostracized or being misunderstood. Of course, they will not know details about our language, our culture, and so on, but they were appreciative and they were very welcoming and accepting. Obviously, we always had 1 or 2 people who would have some attitudes. That's there everywhere, but generally, in a whole, we never faced issues about animosity between the Northeast and other communities. We never faced any misunderstandings, scandal, fights. We never faced any of that. It was a very warm, genial, accepting atmosphere. And generally, I would say the entire college, especially in the residence, people were very accepting of one another. You would always see the Northeasterners hanging out with people from Jaipur, Rajasthan, North, and just doing things together. Just drinking together, just a lot of activities, having fun together. So there were really no ostracizing, no divide, if I may use that word. It was all just a lot of maturity, because people came from all parts of India, and they were already exposed to different communities, different boarding schools, different environments. So when they came, they already was exposed to people from all over the country. So we never had any problems. Yeah.
And did the need for a Northeast society in that time period ever cross your mind?
No, we never thought about the need for a Northeast society. I think all the Northeasterners were either a part of the different societies or we created our own societies, like drinking society or because not everyone in res was involved in the societies. It was not a requirement, and so a large body of the resident students, they did not participate in the college activities. We were just going to college, and after that it was just among ourselves. So we really didn't feel a need for a Northeast society, and But I guess over the years there's a need for that because the issues and the students also grow in number. Yeah.
And what do you think of the current North-East Society and with the Alumni Outreach Program? This is a new initiative by the North-East Society where we reach out alumni. So can you give any suggestions or ideas on how we can improve?
Well, I think to have a North-East Society is very positive. I think it really helps the people from the Northeast to interact, to get to know one another also, to fellowship, build friendship, but at the same time also to bring those issues to the people from the other states. So I think it's very healthy. I think what it can do is really bring out deeper issues from the Northeast that would cause people from the other states and parts of India to understand us, to appreciate us, and that learning can probably help them on further on in the journey of life as an administrator, businessman, so whatsoever. I think also the outreach program I think is very, very exciting because there are a lot of alumni from the Northeast that are really successful, doing really well in life, and I think they have a lot to contribute in terms of advice, counsel, wisdom to the young students of today, because a lot of them also face the same issues, these complexes within, the challenges from the other classmates, and they overcame them. And now they're also doing successful, and so I believe their ability to contribute to the students who are there today. Because even though the generation may be different, the issues in the heart are still the same. It's still the same confusion, sometimes the low self-esteem, sometimes the stuff that people goes through in the mind and heart. So I think their contribution here, their interviews with them that help people who are already there right now to connect with that, to identify with that, and to get strength and encouragement from that. So I think it's really positive, and I'm sure you all are doing a great job. So I don't know how you all can connect with more people. I think just getting references from some of the students, from the alumni, that can lead you to other alumni, to a further pool of alumni. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Your answers were really beautiful, and it was a great time talking to you.
Thank you.
And we all got to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you for the privilege to share my heart and my viewpoints. Thank you.
Yes, this is it for the interview. Yeah.
Okay.